Hello live wires, Heather Boyd Wire here.
Today I'm making yet another soccer ball out of wire. I made a whole bunch of samples and I tried many different techniques, including this kind of chicken wire weave. I have a tutorial for this one. And finally, I'm going to use the 22 gauge black artistic wire and the beadle-on nylon inner jaw flat pliers. You will also need the 18 gauge black artistic wire. I'm using some tweezer nose pliers, the Xuron flush cutters, and the beadle-on bail making pliers. So we're going to start with 15 to 18 inches of the artistic wire. I'm using the nylon inner jaw pliers to straighten out the wire. And then these are the flat nose inner jaw pliers, and the flat nose is perfect to make the sides of the soccer ball patches. So the middle patch is a pentagon. It has 5 sides. That was my mistake with making the previous samples. I thought they were all 5-sided, but it's just the first one that's going to be 5 sides. And then the ones surrounding, which would be the white patches, will be 6-sided. So we'll start with the inner 5-sided form that I will put a black bead in the middle. So now we are going to bend up the wires at an angle and start doing the 6-sided patches that will go around the middle patch. So we're using the end of the flat nose pliers. It seems to be a perfect width. So we're just going to hold them snugly in there and push the wire. So that's a good key to working with wire, is you hold the wire with the pliers and push with your fingers to make a nice sharp bend. And we are going to need to make these 6-sided forms. And the trick is to know what direction to put your wire. So I will have templates linked up in the description below the video. This also resembles a kind of beehive, and I do have tutorials for beehive designs where I've made this initial beehive and then put little bees on top. So there's so many different things you can do with this type of design. And I did previously try the chicken wire style of design, which was cute, but it didn't have the same authenticity as this one does. So we're going to work our way around just using the end of the flat nose pliers and making the 6-sided shapes all the way around the outside. So take your time with it. Hold the wire with your pliers and then push with your fingers. So now we're going to do the 3rd patch. So hold it really firmly and work your way around. It's okay if the shapes aren't perfect. If your angles are a little off, you can just wiggle the wire around a little bit. And they should line up eventually if you're using the end of the flat nose pliers. You can also buy square pliers, but I like these ones where you could just use the tip of the pliers to get the sides the same size. So now we have the 3 patches and we just need to do 2 more. So holding the wires and pushing the wire around to make that shape. It's going to look a little bit like a daisy, but you can tell it's a soccer ball because of the shape. And once it's put inside the round form, it looks even more like a soccer ball. And you also have the option to put beads. I like the way it looks with the beads. As you can see from my samples, I did many different samples using different kinds of beads, and I'll link up all the photos of the different attempts in the templates that are in the description below the video. So now we've done 4 of the shapes, and we're just going to have to do one more. So just following the lines that we have previously done, we are going to make that last shape around and around. Just bring it all the way around. You see it looks a bit like a flower. Sky's the limit with these designs. I would say the soccer ball was one of the designs I struggled the most with. I'll link up the tutorials. I did the football and I also did a baseball, but this one was definitely tricky. So once you've done that inside pattern, we're going to take 18 gauge wire, bend it up at a right angle, take a round form, and make a circle. Sometimes I use pill bottles to do this. This is just a wooden ring mandrel. And then what we want to do is make sure that the shape is going to fit inside that circle. So from there, my wire was a little long, so I'm just going to clip the ends so I don't have too much wire to work with, and then take the round pliers and bend it up at a right angle. So it's going to be easier to attach it to the frame. So now we'll take the end and poke it through the shape, push it right through, and wind it around the circle to hold it within the frame. Give it a little wiggle to tighten it up. And we want to make sure it's going to fit. I had left the circle open so I could tighten it up to make it smaller or larger if I needed to. If you need to straighten out your angles, now we're going to push it on an angle so it ends up being at the outside. And now we're going to clip that end as well, so it's going to be easier to wind around. So hold it within the frame. I decided to push it around to be to the right of the vertical wire of the frame, and then you need to hold it very firmly between your thumb and finger and bend the wire around, hooking it onto the frame. That's going to secure it in place, and then we can clip the extra wire. So now we've got our initial position, and we're going to clip the ends of the wire, and you see it fits nicely inside the circle. So now we need to adjust it so the circle is exactly the right size. Hold it firmly and twist that end around to secure it in place. Give it a good little tug, and then we're going to clip it with our flush cutters and remove that end and pinch it in with the tweezer nose pliers so we don't have any little pokey ends, and clip the end to about 3/8 to 1/2 inch. Hold it with the bail making pliers, bend the wire back and around to make a closed loop for hanging. So we have our centered loop at the top. Do any little adjustments you need, and now we're going to get another piece of 22 gauge wire and add a bead. Could be about 6 millimeters. It's a faceted bead, and we're going to put it in the center. Again, I cut my wires way too long. I was figuring out this design as I was going, so we're just going to bend the wires down on either side of the bead, and then we want to position it in the center of the ball. So just push that bead right in the center, and we want to hold it firmly with our thumb and our finger, and then we're just going to wind the wires around to secure it in place. You can trim these wires before you wind them around. I would wind them around once on either side just to make sure it's nicely centered. And then you can go ahead and wind them through another time, 2 or 3 times, to make sure they're nice and secure. You could even attach the bead with a thinner wire if you want to go for a 24 gauge. That would work as well. Since the structure is already done with the 22 gauge, you can attach the bead with a thinner wire. And then we're going to clip it, and as you can see, it's way too long. So you really would only need a couple of inches of the thinner wire to attach the center bead. So bring the wire through again, making sure the bead is firmly in place, and then we are going to clip the end. And from there we can get our tweezer nose pliers and pinch in the little pokey ends. Do any little adjustments that you need. Just make sure the ends are pushed in. And then we're going to adjust this a little bit. We want to make sure that the lines of the patches are right to the edge of the ball. Just using the flat pliers to do little adjustments, little tweaks. Make sure the wires are nice and straight and even. It's always good to adjust it as you go. So that's the basic shape. And then again, you can use a thinner wire to attach the honeycomb shape all the way around the outside of the ball. I use 22 gauge wire, but you can use 24. It's going to be much easier to wrap. So we're winding the edge of the 6-sided shape, and then we're actually going to add a little 4mm bicon bead. It's a faceted glass bead, and we're going to position those little beads in the place where the black patches would be. It just makes it look more interesting. It gives the illusion of black and white patches on the soccer ball. So position that in place and then wind the wire around, going towards the area where the next bead will be. So just bring it across and around. And then we want to get another bead to represent the next patch. But we're going to bend the wire up first, so the bead will be showing on top of the wire. I just use my round nose pliers to bend it up. And position the bead so it's right where that patch is. Hold it with your thumb and your finger, and then bend the wire around. And we're going to work our way right around the ball. From there, we're just going to wind the little end around, give it a good little tug, and clip the extra wire. And then you could go in with your flat pliers again if you need to straighten up some of those lines. So just go in around and give them a little bit of a pinch so the lines are nice and straight. And there's your finished soccer ball.
So thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more wire art and jewelry making videos. And if you'd like to share photos of your wire art and jewelry, be sure to join the Wire Makers Club on Facebook. And if you'd like to check out my work on Etsy, my husband and I specialize in custom wedding cake toppers and funky jewelry. I also have a mailing list, so if you'd like to sign up below, I'll send you my Wire Art Essentials ebook.
You can get the templates in my Etsy DIY shop. Be sure to use the coupon code SAVE25 to save 25% when you purchase 5 or more templates, tutorials, or ebooks in my shop.
So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you the next time.